All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome to the virtual version of the Texas Conference for Women. I'm Amanda. I usually speak in person at this event, I think for the last 4 years, maybe even longer or so. And I actually travel with the Conferences for Women group back when travel was a thing, I suppose, and do all of their conferences around the country, from the Massachusetts Conference for Women to the Watermark Conference for Women, Philadelphia, Texas, etc. So super excited to be here. I'm going to go through a few housekeeping items, but let me jump into my slide deck, and then we're actually going to go into a demo, live demo. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, pull it up on your cell phone. If you're at home, which I'm sure you are, pull it up on your laptop as well. I'll show you things that you can do within this session, as well as longer term items to build that perfect LinkedIn profile. So let me switch quickly into my deck, and I promise I don't believe in death by PowerPoint, so I actually only have a couple slides for you today. This is a much shortened version of my typical presentation, so I'm going to skip through some of the typical foundational elements of personal branding that I typically teach. If that's something that's of interest to you, I'll give you my contact details at the end. I run workshops like these for companies all the time. Even if you have a group of your friends and you want to run a workshop around this, we can cover some of those personal branding basics as well. Okay, so I'm going to speed through all of this, especially if you've come to the Texas Conference for Women. You probably know me. I'm usually in the expo hall, probably the loudest one in the room, hustling people, getting them over to come and learn how to build their most ideal LinkedIn profile. As I mentioned, I travel with the conference, but by day, I run brand marketing for the IoT division of Cisco. And otherwise, you can find me doing this, traveling when travel was a thing again, but this time virtually, and doing lots of conferences, virtual events. I teach across all types of social media. I teach social media for sales. I teach social and personal branding for women's groups or special interest groups. So I'm really excited to be here with you all today. And to that extent, I will let you know this is being recorded. If you miss a part, we don't have time to go back, you can get a copy of it. I also am very, very reachable, mostly by Twitter or by email. In case the overlay is covering up my contact details, my Twitter handle is @Amanda_Healy, and that's Healy. And I geek out when you guys live tweet me. So if you find something of interest, or if your question doesn't have a chance to get answered, please live tweet me. Let me know what you thought of today's session. Let me know if it was helpful, ways to improve, all of that. Otherwise, my email is amanda.healy37@gmail.com, and we'll be shooting this information out to all of you, so don't think you have to write it down or anything else. Ask questions when you have them. So while I'm in presenter mode, I won't be able to see your questions right away, but we are going to try to do a dedicated Q&A at the end. So as you have them and think of them, just pop them right into the chat section. And then at the end, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you need someone to help you write your LinkedIn profile, I'll give you a resource for that as well. I have a partner who will interview you, and she's a professional writer. We'll start to write your profile to be in your look and feel and cadence, all of that, staying true to your story. Okay, so I'm going to jump straight into the demo. We're going to cover how to make this work for you, regardless of your goals, regardless of your schedule. I know we're all very, very busy, especially during a pandemic, with the meetings getting longer and the days growing longer as well. But I'm going to show you how to make this bite-size. I'll also talk about, why is LinkedIn really and truly a personal branding platform, and what does that mean? I'll show you where to double down. Again, we're all busy, so I'll show you the places on your LinkedIn profile that are going to work the hardest for you in terms of search, in terms of opportunities. And then I'll in fact show you the 5 most viewed areas of your profile and how to optimize them. So you're going to get a ton of homework during the session, but unlike, traditional homework when we were kids, I can guarantee that this homework will be a lot more fun, and it will benefit you in incredible ways for your brand, for opportunities moving forward. So like I said, I will be live demoing. I am about to jump into my own LinkedIn profile and show you those hard-hitting areas that you can focus on to optimize yours. All right, so I mentioned homework. I'm actually going to give you your very first piece of homework before we even dive into this demo. It's an easy one, I promise. So your first piece of homework is I want you to pick any time on your day, so whether it's 2 or 3, whatever time of the day works for you. I I want you to pick 15 minutes of your day every single day to work on your personal brand. You can spend it knocking out some of the homework items that I'm going to give you today. You can spend it on other social media channels if they make sense for your brand. But what I would like you to do, and please write this down, I'm going to have you write down all of your homework. First homework item, put a meeting on your corporate calendar or on your personal calendar. You can make it private. Any time of the day that's best for you, say it's 2 to 2:15, every single day that you are going to work on your personal brand and perhaps your LinkedIn profile. And why I ask you to do this is because it will come up on your phone, it'll come up on your smartwatch or your Fitbit, and you'll be reminded, okay, I just need to spend 15 minutes real quick. I'm going to knock that out. I'm going to work on this. No one is going to work on your brand for you. No one is going to build your digital presence for you. And if you start to build this into, maybe out of today's session, you're like, okay, Saturday is going to be my day. I'm going to knock out all of those homework items. You're not going to do it. Something's going to come up. You're going to procrastinate, whatever it may be. But by just carving out those 15 minutes a day, you have no excuse. What's 15 minutes? I feel like sometimes my coffee takes longer than that, So if you spend that time making that one change or updating that one section, it becomes habitual, and it also becomes a lot more rewarding in the fact that, okay, I can do this. I got that done. I did this. So that's your first piece of homework. The next thing I'll say to you is one of my big takeaways, I guess, from this session is my number one pet peeve, actually. So whenever I meet someone and I tell them what I do and what I speak on, they say, oh, I love LinkedIn. It's your online resume. It is not your online resume. If you are thinking of LinkedIn as your online resume, you are behaving as 80% of the users of LinkedIn. You're being basic. Sorry, PSLs are top of mind right now. It's becoming fall in Boston where I'm based. But what I'm saying to you is LinkedIn is not your online resume. If you're taking your resume, uploading it and giving yourself a pat on the back, you are doing it incorrectly. LinkedIn, rather than your online resume, is a personal branding platform. It's a storytelling platform. Because while your resume tells me what you do, your LinkedIn not only tells me what you do, it tells me why you do it, and it shows me how you do it. LinkedIn is a multimedia platform for showcasing who you are as a person as well as a professional. It's an unbelievably powerful tool for creating a strong personal brand. And I'll show you why that is, and I'll show you how to stand out. The good news is, unlike other platforms such as Instagram or even Twitter, attempting to be an influencer, LinkedIn, it's so much easier to stand out. And the reason comes back to the PSL theory, the basic theory. Everyone uses their LinkedIn the exact same way. And obviously that's a generality and a stereotype, but more often than not, people have the same exact LinkedIn profile, and it's boring and it's static, and there's nothing compelling or interesting about that profile. And I'll go into small little ways to really from the jump stand out. The first is this, and here's your next piece of homework, and it's also a very fun one, and I've also done half of the work for you, so we're off to a good start. Your next piece of homework is I need you to get a LinkedIn cover photo. So a cover photo is what you see here. This is actually a picture of me, I believe, at the Watermark Conference for Women, and it's my personal brand in a nutshell. My personal brand is all about storytelling. In my day job at Cisco, I'm telling the story of our solutions, our customers, and IoT. In my night job or side hustle, I'm helping people like you tell your own story. So this is me in a nutshell, telling a story, but also helping others in the same respect tell their story. And as I go over to Twitter, you'll notice that my cover photo is exactly the same. This is on purpose. When we create consistency across our social channels, the ones that we use professionally, we drive trust and we also drive credibility. So your initial piece of homework with this cover photo is to, first of all, get one, because I can't tell you how many LinkedIn profiles I see that have the standard cover photo of a blue constellation background. And immediately I'm turned off because I'm like, this was a small little effort that you could have made to make your LinkedIn stand out. Cover photos used to be a paid for feature, a premium feature. They're not anymore. You can put anything up there. So that's your piece of homework. And if you're keeping track, this is your second piece of homework. Get a LinkedIn cover photo. You can put anything there. And maybe this is your homework for today or tomorrow, but I've already done some of the work for you. I have done a Google search on LinkedIn cover photos. This is a good place to start. As you scroll down, you'll see lots of different options, but I would use this almost as if it were a Pinterest page. I would find inspiration from this. You'll see a lot of mountaintops or just shapes or colors, a lot of overhead desk photos. Well, what if instead of a stock footage or stock image of an overhead desk photo, what if you took a picture of your desk? We're all working from home, or many of us are. Just, pretty up your desk, make it a bit aesthetic. Maybe you pull a succulent in there, get great lighting, and take an overhead shot of it and use it as your LinkedIn cover photo. Or instead of a stock image of a city skyline, if you live in a city or you live in a beautiful place or a place that's near and dear to your heart, why don't you go and grab a photo of your city that you could have in here? For many years, mine was a photo I had taken of the Boston skyline, because no matter where I traveled in the world for speaking, Boston was my home. So that's fine to go and get your initial cover photo. But what I would ask of you is, over time, evolve your cover photo to really visually represent your personal brand. I've seen some really cool things done with this. I've seen people who perhaps are really into cycling, and that's part of their brand, and they have a picture of them outdoor or mountain biking, cycling. I've seen, images of people who are speakers, and it's a photo of them speaking, or maybe they're an author and it's a photo of their book with an excerpt from it or a review of it. There's so much you can do here. So that's your first, with your profile, piece of advice. Get a cover photo. You will stand out immediately. I like to think of the exercise of personal branding as if we were all products. And if we're all products, then your cover photo is it's your wrapper. It's the first thing that someone sees when they come to your profile. It's the first thing that they form an impression of. I like to use this analogy, or perhaps it's a metaphor, of us all being products, because when we start to think of ourselves as products competing against other products who are very similar, the exercise of personal branding becomes a little bit easier. I'd like for you to picture this. Imagine that you are on Shark Tank. Hopefully you've seen that show or know of it. You're on Shark Tank and you're in the spotlight and you're standing in front of the table of sharks and you're about to pitch a product, but the product is yourself. What would you say? How do you stand out? What's your product's strength? How is it different from other products in the market? Think of the questions that the sharks would ask you and think of your responses to those. This is what personal branding is in a nutshell. It's us understanding who we are, our strengths, what makes us unique, and how we stand out. And there's no better platform, especially a free platform, than LinkedIn to do this. Why? Because it's a professional platform and there's a massive community behind it. But B, there's also not that many people who are treating it as a personal branding or storytelling platform. They're simply treating it as the online resume, like I mentioned. So with that, I'd like to get into the top 5 most viewed areas of your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn does a study every year. They have a focus group of participants that have retina tracking goggles on. And with those goggles, we can see, well, where does the person look on the profile? Where do they look first? Where do they spend the most amount of time, etc.? The number 1 most viewed area of your entire profile, as well as the most amount of time spent on your profile, is actually on your headshot. And while I probably sound a bit disappointed, because I am, because we know that this is the most viewed area, there are so many things that we can do to make sure our headshot, bring it back to the idea of product, that's our logo. We need to make sure our logo is the best possible that we can have. And when I say best possible, I don't mean Kim K level glamour shot. I actually mean just a few core aspects of a great headshot. And those aspects are, first and foremost, make it recent. So I'm actually going to change mine soon because it's from, about a year ago, maybe a little bit more. And I'm like, you know what? I think I need a new one. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for something fresh and that really represents who I am. So make it recent. If you've changed your hair color or are now wearing glasses or whatever it may be, grab a new photo, go outside. I say go outside because that is your best friend when it comes to great lighting. Go outside with your cell phone and take it and find wherever the light is hitting you most flatteringly. That is going to look like a much more professional result than something that is darkened or that needs to be edited to not be so dark. The other aspects of this are background. You want a muted background, a color, a wall. Brick works really well, even foliage. If you have portrait mode on your camera, that's an amazing way to get a great headshot. And then finally, well, maybe not finally, I have two more. One is to not have another person or anything else in that photo. It should not be a picture of you with a noisy background. You want the focal point to be yourself. If there was another person in it and you chop them out, that's no good either. You've got to scrap it and get a new headshot. It needs to be you. And then the final one is to have a smile. There's certainly some that I see that are very stern. The fact of the matter is we want to connect with people who look approachable and who look human. If I'm at a party and the person is like this and like has a stern face on, I'm probably not going to go up to them and strike up a conversation. The same goes for your LinkedIn profile. I understand if you're trying to look, seasoned or veteran or I don't know what other word I would use to describe that. The first just comes up as standoffish. It really is doing yourself a disfavor to have that sort of profile picture, because all of a sudden, folks might not want to connect with you based off of that, and they might not want to work with you either. I have a little bit of a ninja trick for you all, and this is your third homework item. You can only do it on your laptop, but it's very, very important. I would try to get this done this week if you can. While you're in your own profile, I want you to go to Edit Public Profile and URL. It's right over here on the right. When you click that, something magical is going to happen. You are going to be able to see your profile as it appears to anyone that has not connected with you. This could even be someone that doesn't have a LinkedIn profile, simply Googled you and found your name and clicked on it. Why is this so important? Because we're taught, at a young age that first impressions are so, so critical. Shake with a firm handshake, look the person in the eye, enunciate. We're not taught that our first impressions in 2020 and certainly beyond are going to be a digital one, or often going to be a digital one. Meaning that the first thing that I'm going to do when I have a meeting with you or when I receive an email from you is I'm going to put your name in Google. What is coming up? So this is an additional piece of homework, and another really easy one. Google yourself. Type your name into Google and then take a screenshot of what appears and put it into a Word doc. And then go over to the Images tab on Google and take a screenshot of that as well. Why? Because our personal brands are a mix of how others see you and how you see yourself. And you cannot understand how others are seeing you unless you take inventory of what is coming up today before you do any of these homework items. So maybe your LinkedIn profile is lower on the fold, or maybe it's not appearing at all, or maybe there's a photo of you that you didn't realize was public and now it's on your images. Take stock of that. Everything that we do online either adds to our personal brand or detracts from it. So take inventory of where it stands today so that then you know where you would like to evolve it to. On this page, why is this so important? Because I go into a lot of companies, and when I have more time, I often will take volunteers from the audience and optimize their LinkedIn profiles in real time. Again, if that's something of interest, you'll receive my contact information. I would love to come and run a workshop for your group. When I do this, here's an example. I was flown into Walgreens headquarters, and we ran multiple groups of this sort of workshop. And during one of them, I had 10 volunteers. I had pulled all 10 volunteers' LinkedIn profiles up on my laptop. Out of the 10, 8 of them did not display a headshot. And I'm using the term did not display very carefully, because as soon as I brought their profile up, they said, "What is going on? I have a headshot." Well, of course I have a profile picture there. They did not realize they had set their headshot to only be visible to their LinkedIn network. Meaning, if I had not connected with them, I was seeing that blank gray button with just the outline of a headshot. So this is why this piece of homework is your most important. We're up to 4 now. I want you to go and hit that section of your profile that says edit public profile and URL, and make sure your headshot is displaying. You might be surprised. If it's not displaying there, here's what we're going to do, and here's what you should check on regardless. On the side, under edit visibility, you will see your profile's public visibility, and under there, you will see profile photo. So those Walgreens employees had set their profile to only be visible to their network. I often see some people have this set to all LinkedIn members. Change it to public. Now, not only will your headshot be viewable to anyone on LinkedIn, it will also be viewable to those who do not have the platform or who are not logged in. And it will attach your name to that photo in the metadata, which means that when I Google you, the picture that you yourself have selected and chosen will show up in Google Images for your name. Unlike a physical first impression or an in real life traditional first impression, we have an amazing ability to shape our digital first impression because, again, we're choosing the images that we are putting there. We're choosing what we're writing in our summary or in our headline. It's a very, very powerful way to build a perception and to build a brand. While you're on this page, your fifth piece of homework is to make sure your LinkedIn URL has your name in it. Again, this is incredibly important for search purposes. If it has any random letters or numbers, delete those out. You want just your name in there from a search perspective. And if your name's not available, you can do things like Amanda hashtag hyphen Healy or Amanda underscore Healy or Amanda.Healy, but really try to keep those letters and additional numbers out of it. Okay, because we're really quick on time today, I mentioned it's a very shortened session. I want to go into the number 2 most viewed area of your LinkedIn profile, which is your headline. A lot of people don't realize you can change your headline to say whatever you want. So here's your next piece of homework. And this is a bit of a longer one. Maybe you put this for next week. I would like for you to think of and write down 10 to 15 keywords that you would like to be known for. So my keywords are IoT, marketing, keynote, speaker, social media, branding. Yours could be a variation of those. It could be a certain skill that you have. Maybe you code or maybe you are well-versed in Python, or maybe you work in AI. Again, I work in tech, so I'm using all technology examples, but there's loads of others. What are the keywords that if you were a product and I was trying to buy your product online, what would I search for? What would you come up for as tagged keywords for those? Essentially, what are your hashtags, right? So make that 10 to 15 list keyword, and of that list, make 4 different headlines. They could be anything. So maybe, for example, I start with branding expert and then I go into speaker, or maybe I change out branding and put something else there. Maybe I just write social speaker. It could be a mix of those keywords that you created. It could be a variation of some of your other headlines. And then from there, pick a day and time every week that you are going to switch in a new headline. So maybe it's Monday at 2 when you put that meeting originally for your daily social media branding meeting. Maybe Monday at 2, you pop in here and you put your new headline. But before you do any of that, make sure you take a screenshot of your analytics. So I'll show you how to do that. I click the home here, go into who's viewed your profile. And I want you to take a screenshot of this because this will give you a benchmark, something to compare against. After you change your headline a few times, you'll start to realize, okay, I'm getting a spike in views when I put in this keyword versus, this version of it is not getting me as many views or messages or connections. Again, I call this Amanda Healy science because it's very fuzzy at best, but it's, our only way to really understand what is resonating with our audience. So anyways, after you've taken this and put it into your Word doc, because over time you won't be able to see your historical statistics. From there, every Monday at 2 or whatever weekday time you choose, pop in your new headline and let it sit for a week and then take a screenshot of your analytics again. And do that over the course of 4 weeks with 4 headlines. By the end of a month, you will know which headline is working the best for you. You can choose to do this over any duration of time. You could choose maybe every 2 weeks you do a new headline, or maybe every month. Really, whatever works for you to get that data and to make a data-based decision as to what your headline will be. The other tip I have on headlines is make it value driven. What is someone going to get from you? What is interesting about you that could compel them to connect with you or to at least view your profile? Moving on to the third most viewed area of your profile, this is going to take you the longest amount of time, so I would like you to start thinking about it now. It's your summary. So I told you that your LinkedIn profile not only tells me what you do, it tells me why you do it, and it shows me how you do it. So picture you and I out to coffee or out to a drink, your choice. It's a post-COVID world. And I say to you, tell me about yourself. What would you say? You wouldn't say, well, I'm a veteran, seasoned professional with 10 years and my skills include X, Y, and Z. Those are the types of summaries that I see on LinkedIn. And those are the types of summaries that I do not read on LinkedIn, nor do many others, because they're so in the box. Get a little bit out of the box. The first word in personal branding is personal. Tell me a story. Tell me why you love to do what you do, or how you got into it, or what you do in your personal life and how that mixes into your professional and makes you better at what you do professionally. Tell me who you are and tell me who you've been and where you're going, and include a call to action or a CTA, another marketing term. But what do you want people to do after viewing your profile? Maybe it's connect with me, or send me a message if you're interested in X, Y, and Z, or maybe you're selling to them by a call to action. And then bring it to life. So I talked about showing me what you do. For every section of your profile, you can add media. You can add videos, you can add PDFs, you can add links to other pieces of work. As the biggest piece of homework and an optional one, I would say film an about me video. Answer that question I just used, while we were at the coffee or a drink, and say, who you are in 30 seconds or less. This is an amazing way for people to not only hear you, but see you and how you tell your story. And it's an incredibly powerful way that I have seen some of my quote unquote students or people that have taken my sessions. I've seen them land jobs from doing this. I've seen them be asked to be on webinars or podcasts. I've seen them become influencers based off of it. It's, again, very optional piece of homework, but I've just seen such amazing results with people who have taken me up on it that I would highly recommend. Moving on to the fourth most viewed area of your profile. It's the most surprising. It is your skills under here. So you'll notice that you can only display 3 skills. You can have up to 30, but only your top 3 will display. And by top 3, I actually mean just the 3 that you've chosen. So a lot of people don't realize that this is editable, meaning I can move social media marketing to the top. I can move any of the 30 that I've written. Here's how you do it. I did that very quickly. Click the pencil icon, and then from here, you're going to pin whatever those skills are. So maybe you go back to that list of 10 to 15 keywords, and you make sure that those 3 are 3 of those are in your top skills. Or maybe you're changing roles. Maybe you want to get into demand generation again. So you're going to pin that, and then you're going to click and drag and move it all the way to the top. So here's your next piece of homework, another pretty easy one. I want you to go and check on your profile and see what skills are displaying as your top 3. And I want you to change those if they're not aligned with what your personal brand is all about. I also want you to add skills if you don't have many listed. LinkedIn will actually help you out. And when you go to add them, it will suggest them based off of your profile. Or you can start typing and it will pull up examples of that as well. Start to endorse others for their skills, and you'll notice that you'll get served up on their pages and other pages to get endorsed for those as well. These rank super highly for search, meaning that if someone is looking for a social media expert or a social media speaker, because I have 400 social media marketing endorsements, my LinkedIn profile will shoot right to the top of the search within LinkedIn, but even on Google as well. Very, very powerful tool for SEO. And then finally, your 5th most viewed area of your LinkedIn profile is the Yelp of your profile. It's those third-party endorsements from people that you've worked with or worked for or worked with in some capacity. So make sure you have at least one recommendation for each of your roles, but also make sure that you've given recommendations. I run a team at Cisco, and I always, when hiring, will first of all skip over the resume completely and go straight to the LinkedIn profile because it shows me so much more than just that resume. But I'll also go and read the recommendations that you've given for others. This is an amazing way for me to understand how you write, how you take something very complex like a human being and dial it down into what matters and what that story is. It's basically how I understand a marketer in a nutshell. So great place to start. So we're at the top of our time. I'm going to switch back into the original mode so I can see any questions that came in. Again, this is my super shortened version of this. I do a much longer, hour-long. I've even spoken up to 4 hours at one point on these sort of topics in different social media channels. So get at me, contact me if you need help. As I mentioned, I also have a partner who will help write your LinkedIn profile for you. So I offer that as well. Okay, so let's see if we can answer any questions. Again, I know we're short on time, so to my lovely hostesses, let me know if there is time for us to answer questions and if they've come in. Okay. What section of your LinkedIn profile do you update the most often, and do you post articles? That's a great question. So LinkedIn is a sharing platform. You know, the first word in social media is social. So it's an opportunity to have a conversation. I never share anything unless it hits one of my 3 L's. Either you're learning from it, you're laughing at it, or you're living through it. So either you're adding an educational element to it, or you're giving someone an emotional connection to it through the learning aspect of it. So I would really caution you, or not caution you, but encourage you to, when you share on a platform, LinkedIn, rather than, outright giving just a link, add context. If you're sharing, an article, I would say, here's what I found really interesting about this article. What do you think? Or, hey, have you checked this out? I've been learning a lot about X, Y, and Z. Start a conversation around it. You'll see a lot higher engagement level, and you'll also see a high level of people interacting with that content as well. What is the best way to connect with someone you don't know, and what should be in the connect message? Well, this person who asked this question is already ahead of the game because they realize that they have to add a message to that connection request. Never send a connection request on LinkedIn without one. Even if back in the day when I would stand next to a person after my session and they'd say, hey, I'm adding you on LinkedIn, I'd say, okay, cool. Make sure you add a message. Say something like, just attended your session at the Texas Conference for Women. I thought this was interesting. Add context to it. This is great because it makes me so much more readily to accept your connection request, because I know who you are. You've jogged my memory on a conversation that we've had, and now I have a date and a timestamp associated with that chat, so I can know when I met you, what we talked about. The same goes for you. As you connect with others and you write this, it almost builds like a Rolodex, I guess I'm dating myself, or a black book of notes and backgrounders on all of the people that you've connected with. All right, I think we're going to wrap it. So as a final, let me go back into my presentation. I know a few of you asked for contact details. So let me go into that. And I have them all shared up for you. Or at least I did. Where did they go? All right, here we go. So Twitter, like I said, this is an instant way to reach me. I can respond right away if you had a question today that we didn't get to. My LinkedIn profile, just give me a little bit of time to get through those. They come in fast and furious whenever I speak. So again, if you add that context in the connection request, you make it a lot easier for me. And then my email, amanda.healy37@gmail.com. Great way to reach me if you're looking to have a speaker on LinkedIn or any social media platform. I get brought in by a lot of HR groups, a lot of interest groups at different companies to help give back to their employees, and then sales groups as well. I teach a lot on social selling. So with that, I hope that this is valuable. I know we crammed a lot into this small session, but if you make it work for you by having that meeting for yourself every single day. I promise in the span of just a few weeks, you're going to see your profile views rising, a lot more connection requests coming in, and even some opportunities coming your way, whatever that word opportunity means for you. This is an amazing platform to stand out, to be you, and to tell your story. And I hope that you now realize it's more than your online resume. So thank you all for being with me virtually today. I really appreciate it. And I'll be teaching another session on LinkedIn later on in the week if that's of interest. It's specifically for job seekers, very similar information to what we covered today, but just with that job seeker angle in mind. Thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there, and hit me up if I can help in any way. Thank you so much.